And we'll talk a little bit about the threat landscape. So, this is what Huntress and myself are seeing out there over the past like 18 months. So, what we've actually been noticing is Australia and New Zealand now are really used as a proving area or a staging ground for threat actors, all right? Because we have like the essential eight, we have a lot of these controls in place. They want to make sure that their ransomware or their ransomware as a service or their malware is actually going to work in the environment, right? So they actually use Australia. So they launch their attacks on us first, which makes it a lot more difficult for people like myself and Liam. But we're here to have you back. So we'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing out here. So with ransomware, and everybody knows what ransomware is, we're actually seeing a new playbook. So back in the day, what threat actors used to do is they would just get on a computer and just ransomware as much as they could. And they'd try to do that to get paid. But they went, well, what if we can get paid twice? Wouldn't that be better? And you've got to think of these ransomware threat actors actually as a business. So what they do now is they're going to go into your system. They're going to hang around for a little bit of time, but they're going to start grabbing data and information first. And we've seen this with Latitude. We've seen this with Optus. We've seen this with Qantas now. And I would hope nobody's clicking on any emails that's talking about Qantas stuff at the moment, because yes, there's a lot of those attacks out there right now. So they're going to try and get the data so they can get paid to not leak that data, and then they're going to encrypt you as well. So they're really trying to do it. So you pay them to unencrypt as well as you pay them to not share your data. We refer to it as the double tap. If everybody's seen the movie Zombieland, same kind of thing. So here, this is what we're really seeing out there. And this year, it's really been the rise of the info stealer. So 24% of the threats we see on your computers are info stealers. So they're trying to get usernames and passwords. They're trying to get corporate data. They're trying to get patient data, things where you're like, oh no, that can't leak because our business will be gone, right? Sometimes they'll do this with a malicious script. Sometimes they'll install malware. And a lot of the times, what they're trying to install here is something like a crypto miner. So they'll use your infrastructure linked to their wallet to try and mine various different cryptocurrencies. So they're not actually paying for any of the power, they're not paying for any of the compute to do that. So they'll try and get those on your computer. A rat is a remote access Trojan. So this tied in with RMM abuse is really how they're doing what we say maintain persistence on your computer. So by maintaining persistence, think of it if you're going fishing with a professional who throws the line out, actually catches the fish, and then hands it to you to reel in the fish. This is what they love to do. They love to get a remote access Trojan on there or a remote monitoring tool. They're kind of pivoting more to remote monitoring tools, which are things that we as MSPs and techs have used in the past and use today, so they can hide in plain sight. But what they'll do is they'll get that installed on their computer, on your computer, and then they're going to sell that access to somebody else. Because in their legal jurisdiction, it's not illegal for them to have something installed on their computer, but it is illegal for them to attack you. So they actually just go and sell connection to your computer to somebody else or 50 other people that don't care about the laws, and they're going to go and attack you. All right. And then lateral movement here is moving throughout your environment. So depending on what they get access to, this is really tied in with the info stealer, that they'll try to move to the right computer. They'll try and get to your SharePoint. They'll try and get to your OneDrive. They'll try and get into your email box to do threats from there. So this is the activity that we're seeing immediately prior to when they ransomware you. So this is the double tap. So they're going to go ahead here and they're going to exfiltrate data. So they're going to start pulling that data off your machine. So OneDrive, SharePoint, those kind of things. Defense evasion, they're trying to get around your Microsoft Defender. They're trying to get around Huntress. They're trying to get around your conditional access rules, your multi-factor authentication. They're trying to disable those things to get around, and this is where we can usually catch them. They're doing lateral movement, so they're trying to get to more devices. They're trying to get credential access so they can see what else they can steal from you, whether this is your banking password, whether it's other things like this. And privilege elevation here, this is where they're trying to make themselves an admin so then they can do more damage. And this could be creating new user accounts, it could be adding themselves to a group, it could be a whole bunch of things. So the average time that this happens in used to be up in the 30 to 40 day range. They used to love to sit there and just kind of hang around and wait to see how much damage they could do. And what they would do back in the day is they would go through and start corrupting backups and doing things like that. Well, they've got a hell of a lot faster with this. And the more we've gone online, the quicker they've actually got. So the average time from the time they get into your machine to the time they've collected all your data and ransomware your computer is 16 hours. So less than a day. If we look at some of the groups, Ransom Hub here does it in 6 hours. Ink/Links does it in 7 hours. Kira does it in 6 hours. Medusa does it in 20 hours. Play does it in about 4 hours. So Akira is one that we're seeing a lot right now. There's actually a ongoing 0-day threat right now with a company's tool, SonicWall, which is a firewall. So with their VPN, there's actually a 0-day that Akira are currently using. Huntress is tracking it and helping our partners out. We've already alerted all our partners to make sure that you're patched and good to go. But they're really big in the news right now, is Akira. So lots of attacks. We've been seeing Ink/Links a lot and Ransom Hub a lot. Plays kind of a little easier to defeat. They're what we will refer to as the less mature threat actors, whereas Akira, Ink, and Ransom Hub are really quite mature from their attacking side. All right, let's jump forward. All right, so yeah, if we exclude Medusa here, we're down to 6.12 hours. So you think inside your working day, they can get all your data and ransomware your computer. And this is where tools like Huntress, your Microsoft tools really come into play to make sure you're protected against this. Let's jump forward. So you might be able to guess who this customer is. This isn't me obfuscating it. This is actually, if you remember the TV show Mr. Robot, his group was called F Society. Well, after people saw that TV show, they created a real F Society. They cropped back up around 2021, 2022. They were originally around before that, but 2021 they really started attacking pretty hard. So this is one where they leak this information to the actual media that they have got into these different companies. They always just go first letter, last letter of each word of the business name, or in this case, Australian National University. So they took over ADU servers, they extracted the student and teacher data, which is pretty critical. We don't want that information leaked out because a lot of times the teachers will have all their identity information. So their tax file number will be in there. If students have got student loans, they're going to have their tax file number in there, right? This is information that people can then start to use to impersonate you, to open other bank accounts and do some really nasty stuff. So here they will give you the chance to actually say, oh no, we'll pay you to not do this. Now, Australian government and we both agree you shouldn't pay them because they're going to leak the data anyway. All right. Some of them have morals, most of them don't have morals. Right. So you're really up against some really sketchy people who don't care. So they're just going to keep getting paid. They're just going to release at places that you're not aware of, onto the dark web, onto various malware forums where people use that. And I can tell you, when they have a remote access Trojan or an RMM on it, they sell it for anywhere, each connection from anywhere from about €2 up to €50, depending on the size of business. So they just want to get money, right? That's all they're doing. And in fact, a couple of years ago, one of these ransom groups actually went through redundancies. That's who you're up against now. You're not up against somebody sitting in a basement anymore. You're up against organized, real businesses that are doing this for a job. So let's talk a little bit about identity here. So this is what we're seeing on our ITDR product side. Now, apologies for another acronym. You can blame Gartner. Gartner named this kind of industry. But ITDR is Identity Threat Detection and Response. So this is where we're looking at your Microsoft 365 account to see what's really going on with that. And this is what we see. So we see a hell of a lot of VPN rule violations. Now, virtual IT would have in rules to say you can only connect from Australia or from these countries or from this device, right? A lot of people put rules in saying you can only connect from Australia. It's a good solid thing, but it is just a normal lock on a door. Right? Somebody can come in with a battering ram or just a really good kick and kick that lock off, right? They do this by using those VPNs that you've probably seen on sports sponsorships, on YouTube ads, on ads. So think here NordVPN, ExpressVPN, things somebody you might use or somebody in your family uses. So we see a lot of VPN rule violations because they just use a VPN and they go, I'm now in Australia. Thankfully, Huntress, we can detect this, right? Suspicious browser data is where they're trying to get kind of like session tokens, but they'll send you to a fake website, right? And this kind of ties in with the token theft as well. Location rule violations, people logging in from overseas. This is one that they love to do, and this is where you've really got to be careful in your supply chain. So the people that you work with, it's really, really important that you watch out for certain emails. So certain emails, anything where they request you to change banking details randomly, right? Hey, we sent you this invoice 2 days later. By the way, we've changed our banking details. Can you put it in here now? That should be a red flag immediately. I can tell you they tried that on our billing department here at Huntress for about $100,000. And the way we've always done things here is we have a book with phone numbers in it where we've actually written down people's phone numbers. So we'll never call a phone number on an email. If you're doing anything in your personal life or your business life, I would suggest getting a physical business card with that person's number on it from them in person, get it from them, stick that in some sort of book or in some folder. If you ever get one of those emails that say, hey, our billing details have changed, pick up the phone, call that person from the number in your book. Don't call the number on the email because that threat actor's changed that. So you definitely want to go ahead and have that kind of playbook there to make sure this will never happen to you, especially in your personal life. I can tell you that I have had people call me who are partners here where somebody in their family has fallen for something like this, where they've got a call from a conveyancer or they're buying a house and over $1 million has been transferred into somebody else's bank account, right? It is hugely upsetting. It is hugely depressing. There's not much I can do about it. Not like I can attack them back, but there's not much I can do about it, right? So just be really careful. And if you are doing a big money transfer on the identity side, I would always, if somebody says their banking details has changed, confirm that and then transfer a random amount of money, right? Random amount of money. and make it like $7.53, whatever it is, just so on the phone you can kind of confirm everything's good. All right. Here we're seeing a lot of token theft and attacker in the middle attempt, and this is you're hacked in 3 minutes. So we will get to the fun stuff in a minute. It's just after this, it's not too long away. So this is where they're tricking you into going to a phishing site, and they're very, very good at it now, and they're very, very good at using AI. So they won't just run it through one AI now, they'll run it through ChatGPT, then they'll run it through Gemini, then they'll run it through Microsoft. So they'll run it through multiple Gen AIs to really get the wording right and get it so it isn't the old Nigerian prince ones with all spelling mistakes and everything crazy. They're getting far better at this. The one thing I would say to look out in anything to know if it's AI is a double dash. So if there's two dashes next to each other and it looks like one real long dash in the middle of a paragraph, that is AI writing. So be careful with that. But just verify everything, verify the website. And if you're not sure, reach out to the team that you've got with Liam, right? You've got a great team there. People can wait 20 minutes. People can wait an hour. People can wait half a day. It's fine, right? If you really need it urgently, contact people on the phone, but just be protected, right? Be safer than anything. If somebody's trying to get you to urgently pay them, it should be a massive red flag for you that this could be a threat actor. And this is where we're seeing a lot of money loss because they'll change the inbox rules to hide things like password resets, invoice emails, things like that. So they can then go and change those and then they can attack somebody else. And you'll find it coming from your supply chain. And I can tell you from a legal perspective, we've seen a case over in WA where somebody paid threat actors instead of the actual business, even though the business that was getting paid was breached. The business that was paying paid the threat actors, and then the court said, we still haven't paid your invoice. You've got to go and pay your invoice. So they're now out twice. So you've got to be really careful there. And then malicious application deployment, this gives them rights into your tenancy. So if you ever receive anything that's saying, hey, I want to integrate to your calendar, and it opens up a little Microsoft window and it says you are consenting to all these things, verify that with somebody in the IT team. Don't go and click yes, because it could be asking for a lot more access than you actually realize. All right, Huntress detects this kind of stuff, so we'll keep you protected. Right. So here, this is the Huntress plus Microsoft better together. So we're really strong partners with Microsoft. We've been through their security program, so we're actually a verified solution with using Microsoft. And with that, you have to have multiple integrations and Microsoft certificates and everything. So we're really strong in on Microsoft Defender and Defender AV. These are tools that you're already paying for, and Huntress will take it to the next level. So use the things that you're already paying for. They're fantastic tools now. If you look at any independent AV test that's out there, you'll see that Microsoft is at the top. Right? They have put a lot of money into this. It's very important to them. So we're there just to make it even better. And this is how we can do it. So this is one where Defender actually went in and went, hey, I'm going to block this thing from happening. Now, what this is somebody trying to dump part of the operating system that has all the credentials in it. So all your usernames and passwords. Thankfully, Microsoft blocked it. But what the hacker did, and this is what Huntress did, because we can pull more telemetry, Microsoft stopped the attack. That's brilliant. But then Huntress came in over the top and went, well, your VPN had stolen credentials. They then moved into a legitimate Active Directory account and they attempted to steal your credentials. Right? So Defender stopped the credential theft attack, but couldn't stop them from getting in initially. Huntress found how they got in. We pulled that signal in from Defender. Our threat researchers and threat analysts went through and looked at it and went, we can now tell you this. So now we could get the credentials changed on the VPN. We could get that Active Directory account locked down and the credentials changed on that. And Defender stopped the credential dumping from happening. So now that threat actor is out of that environment and they can't get back in. So this is where we can really add some value. And if we jump ahead, so this is a video that is going to show you how they do these identity threats. So this is a server that I have in the cloud stored in Estonia. So this is a tool called Evil Jinx. And if I just pause for a second here, these are all the different phishing websites that I have. So I have fake versions of all these different sites that I can then use against you. And this took me about an hour over my lunch one day to set up, right? So we're going to jump in here and I'm going to get what's referred to as a lure. So this is kind of like my phishing line that I'm going to throw out. That's actually a domain that I know that I used to own, m365online.online. So this is where they're trying to trick you. And you'll see in a second when this site loads, is it looks exactly the same as the Microsoft site. Exactly the same. So here looks completely normal to somebody. This is where you've really got to go and check the URL. Make sure that is login.microsoft online. So here I'm going to log in as Jimmy. This account doesn't exist anymore, so you can know the password, go for your life. In this site, Jimmy's going to enter his password. It's even going to pop up LastPass. And it's going to go through and go, do you want to stay signed in? It will also capture the MFA credentials. So you'll see in a minute. If we go through here. Now, at this point, it's flicked back to the actual Microsoft site because all I'm doing is sitting in the middle with my phishing site and capturing the traffic. So here, it's gone back to the Microsoft site. You log in normally again, and you're like, oh, Microsoft's just being weird. Moving on, right? So we grab this. We'll just skip forward a little because I want to leave time for Q&A, right? Jimmy logs in. Jimmy's fine. Jimmy continues on with his day. At this point, I have Jimmy's username, I have Jimmy's password, I have all his session tokens. So you might know when you go to a website and it goes, would you like to accept this cookie? When you sign into Microsoft or you sign into Google or you sign into anything, it's going to keep what's referred to as a session token. It's so you don't have to constantly log in again and again, right? But once I've got that token, I can use that token to then pretend that I am you. Yep, we will get to that question. It's a great question, Andrew. All right. So here, I've even got your IP address. So I can get this when I go to this 20-second session. All this junk here is that session token. So I can use that for any computer, and Virtual IT has other things to protect you from this. So don't worry too much. Now I'm going to go to a completely new browser, different browser, and I'm just going to search for the Microsoft 365 login. So you can see here that I Google it, I go to the actual Microsoft one. If we click sign in here, actual Microsoft site, you can see here, I am not logged in anywhere, right? I can pick an account, but I'm not logged in. This thing up here is a cookie editor. So this is how I can inject that session token. I import it, I hit the refresh button, and then it's like, pick the account. Yes, I am Jimmy. I'm logged in. Didn't ask me for password. Didn't ask me for MFA. I have full access to this account now. Now I can start putting in dodgy inbox rules and really start doing some damage, right? It's very, very simple to do, but it just requires vigilance, right? You just need to make sure. If you're not sure about something, there is nothing wrong with putting your hand up and asking. Still to this day, I'll get emails, and I've almost been tricked by our phishing emails here at work. They almost got me. But this is where I want to make sure, just don't click on a link. Verify the link. Make sure you have all of those, right? So we will.
It's awesome, Sean. Thank you so much.
No worries.
I've got a few questions, but let's start with Andrew's. And guys, if you do have any questions, we do have a little bit of time. We might run for an extra 10 or so minutes. So first cab off the rank, Sean, what's your recommendation for LastPass versus 1Password versus Google Safari to generate/remember passwords?
Okay, so Google Safari would be the last on my list. just because I feel like it's a lot easier to dump it from a browser than it is from a third-party application. We use LastPass here at Huntress. Everything I've heard about 1Password, I've heard great things about 1Password. So I don't think you can miss by going a 1Password. I'd even throw out another option here in Keeper. Keeper is really, really good as well. So any of those. All of those also have dark web monitoring in them. So they'll go and check various different dark websites to see if your credentials have been leaked on there. That's where you really get the benefit. I know Google has started implementing this, but the other products out there are kind of doing it better right now. But with that, with Microsoft as well, I'd been moving towards passkeys as well. And there is things like phishing resistant tokens and stuff like that that can be done. So there's plenty of stuff to kind of protect you from this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As long as the rule of thumb is complex, unique passwords for everything. Whatever helps
Yeah.
you do that is a great tool.
So
Uh,
here's a piece of advice with that is stop thinking of a password, start thinking of a passphrase.
yep,
So if it's multiple words with uppercase, lowercase, it's going to be a lot harder to crack. Like it's going to take years for a machine to go through and crack it. So think of a sentence that you can remember and then incorporate some numbers, incorporate some uppercase, some symbols into it. That's going to be a lot easier, A, for you to remember, but B, the threat actors to crack.
awesome. No, that's great. I've got another question here for you. We've something we found is we've been explaining to our clients that the nature of attacks has really changed in 2025 significantly. And from what we've seen, the rate of successful attacks for our clients who don't have our security product in place, aka Huntress and a combination of other tools, has multiplied significantly. Why is that? What changed in the wind in 2025 for cyber attacks?
So the ransomware groups started doing things called ransomware as a service. So what they'll do is they'll actually have pre-built attacks in there. So it becomes like streaming a movie in that somebody just clicks it and hits the button, and then it's a proven method. And the reason it constantly works is because they're constantly updating it to evade defenses, right? So you have to think when it's an attacker, and people have so many different pieces of software on their computer. People also are spending more on time online. People are putting more information online. So they have access to more stuff. And from a defense perspective, you're very much chasing a tail. So think of it as a haystack. The threat actor, so your computer is a haystack, the threat actor can keep just puncturing at it until they find a hole in that haystack and get the needle in. What we as defenders and all these other tools have to do is go through and say, right, well, we have to rebuild the entire haystack to figure out where that needle went in. So that's why we speak about having layers of security, having Defender, having a Huntress, having all those controls that are in your Essential 8. So patching things, MFA, all of those are going to lead to a more protected haystack. Or think of your identity in your machine as a piece of Swiss cheese. So cheese with holes in it. Each layer of Swiss cheese that we put in place, and think of those as security products, is going to make it a more solid block of cheese. Therefore, you don't have that access through it. All right. So the more
Yeah.
layers you put in place, and look, I get it. I can show you, and Liam, I'm sure, can show you as well, how many things we have to multi factor authenticate to. It's frustrating. We get it, but it's kind of necessary. I would rather spend 30 seconds doing all the MFA than going through and being down for 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Liam, I've got a question for you. I want to make sure that your time is validly used as well, being on the call around. Um, what would you say is the average cost and impact to Australian businesses for a successful attempt? Or not what would you say? What is the data saying?
Yeah, the ACSC releases a report about this each year. So in last year's report, they broke it down by small, medium, and large businesses. So a small business, and this is self-reported figures, so we can assume that it's probably worse than this. Recognize that the cost of that cyber event to them was $49,600 on average. Medium businesses 62,800, and large businesses 63,000. I think there's a couple of things to draw from this, but the one that really gets me is that the attack costs are about the same. It doesn't matter how big you are. And so for an organization who's hoping to be exempt because of size or lack of interest, these factors just don't apply anymore. In terms of, I think the bigger impact, or the piece that I come back to regularly, this is a slightly old stat now, but Verizon Business reported that 60% of small businesses don't survive 6 months after a cyber event. It could be, that cost. I think it's more likely the impact to reputation, the lost opportunity, the time it took them that they didn't factor in terms of how they recovered. I think that's really the bigger question here. Even though none of us likes losing money or being robbed, whatever that turns out to be, whether it is that staff wasted time, etc. The real one is, this is cybersecurity is now just a pay to play. If you're not willing to pay the entry price to stay in business, then eventually you get swept up by something. We saw one recently where someone is just downstream from the next business that got compromised. That business gets compromised, the email goes out to everyone in that address book, they get that email, then they get compromised and it gets sent out to everyone in their address book. It's just, it's an old tried and true strategy of, I got an email from a trusted partner and I clicked on a link and I didn't realize what the impact of that would be. So there really isn't much thought going into you being targeted, and that's perhaps unfair, but nevertheless the reality.
Yeah, they like, a threat actor does not have a compass to say, oh, this is just a small business in this
Yeah.
location. They just see business, they see money, that's what they want to get in. The fact is, last week I was dealing with attacking a hospital in the US, right? It's
Mm. It's not right.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. The only one
Yeah.
that I've seen where I was like, wow, that is actually morally good, was one of the group's people ransomwared a children's cancer hospital, and the leader of the ransomware group came out and gave them the encryption key for free, apologized, and said, we don't do that. Right,
Um,
that was the
it's
very
almost
rare
heartwarming.
instance. Yeah, yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're terrible people, but at least you had slight bit of heart. They do not care, because
Mm.
if you're talking about North Korea, North Korea's GDP's in the tens of millions probably. Their cybersecurity attack revenue is in the billions. So it's state
Yeah.
sponsored, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've got another question here from Andrew,
Yeah.
around how long, or what on average is the time for a business to recover back to its pre-breach or pre-attack form stage, after experiencing a cyber event or a breach. So
Yeah.
how long? Do they ever get back to what they used to be, or is it always walking with that limp?
So yeah, you can definitely get back, right? And this comes down to A, what you did, and B, how you communicated it. And we're even seeing it, right? Like, yes, Optus has taken a hit, but they're not out of business, right? Generally, on average, what I've seen will depend. Now, if we're talking about a high incident from the Hunter side, with like somebody gets a crypto miner on your computer, we'll isolate the computer, we'll clean it up. That'll be done in a few hours. So that's going to drag the average down. But if we're talking about like critical ransomware, generally what I'm seeing is it's in the 2 to 3 week range before you're actually back online in
Yeah.
business, because as soon as you engage your cyber insurer, they're going to want all the logs. They're not going to let you lock into the machine, and they're going to say, hey, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So that's really what takes the time, is the cyber insurer going and investigating it for you. You could be back up and running within hours due to backups and all the things that virtual IT are doing for you, but the cyber insurer is going to put the brakes on that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've got one more question and then we'll round things up and let everyone get back to lunch. But something that I often come across when I'm talking with clients or prospects is around that I've been attacked, so I'm not a target anymore, or I was attacked, but I changed my password, so it's good. And I just want you to speak to that thinking for a moment.
Yeah. Okay, so sure. That's like saying my house got broken into, my house will never get broken into again, right? If it's been proven that you do not have the security chops to stop them, they're going to come after you again. And I can tell you quite a personal story here. So you would think in my family that they would listen to me, but not always. My brother liked to reuse passwords. My brother was part of the 16 billion records that were leaked a couple of months ago. And I got a phone call at like 5 in the morning where he was getting attacked, right? And this went on for days and days and weeks until I got him to get a password manager and get everything reset and get everything locked down, right? They are going to keep attacking you. It is like a it's like having a bully. Like, unless you show that you can stand up to that bully and get rid of them, they're going to keep attacking you. Right?
Yeah.
It's
No, that's a
unfortunate,
really
but
good point. Yeah.
yeah.
And often we find that is where there's been a successful breach of some description. There is a very subsequent and close second attack, third attack attempt if that was successful. Look, I'm going to leave it there. I know we could talk security enthusiastically until the cows come home. I hope everyone is adequately hungry from talking about Swiss cheese and security. Thank you for coming. It's really appreciated. Sean, thank you so much for your time and for all that you guys do with us as a partner. We're so thankful that those who do have security in our care are really well cared for 24/7. And we know that is a big part because of what Huntress and people like you do for us. So
Yes.
thanks everyone for coming. Stay safe out there. Try to sleep really well tonight. And if you don't have security, feel free to give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk it through and maybe even just talk about some tools or things you can put in place that might help you manage that more and better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, team.